Welcome back to GZ Coins World, my great fellows. Let's go to the extraordinary story of one of the smallest yet most powerful treasures in American history, the Liberty 1 cent of 1902, a coin that started life with the humble value of a single penny yet today has become a legendary masterpiece with a current market value of $416.5 million. At first glance, it may look like nothing more than an old piece of copper. But the deeper you explore, the more you realize that this tiny coin holds within it a tale of art, history, rarity, and breathtaking value that has made it one of the most sought-after coins in the entire world. Collectors, historians, and everyday dreamers are fascinated by its story because it proves that even the smallest things, often overlooked, can grow into treasures beyond imagination. The Liberty cent of 1902 belongs to the series of Indian head cents, designed by James Barton Longacre, who served as chief engraver of the United States Mint. First issued in 1859, and continuing until 1909, the Indian head penny became one of the most beloved coins in American history. By 1902, the series had already been in circulation for over 4 decades. And yet it was still as popular as ever. The obverse of the coin shows Liberty in a feathered Native American headdress, a design choice that combined the classical symbol of freedom with imagery tied to America's own heritage. Many people mistake the image for a Native American portrait, but it is in fact Liberty herself, stylized to embody both grace and national identity. The reverse featured a wreath of oak leaves tied with a ribbon, crowned by a shield, with the words 1 cent boldly at the center. Every detail was carefully chosen to symbolize strength, unity, and the enduring spirit of the nation. For people living in 1902, this cent was part of everyday life. A penny had power back then. It bought a newspaper, candy, a glass of soda, or matches. In towns and cities across America, children clutched these cents tightly as they visited corner shops, while adults relied on them daily for transactions. Yet, while most of these coins were worn down through constant circulation, a precious few survived in extraordinary condition. That survival is what has made certain examples from 1902 unbelievably valuable today. The year 1902 itself was a pivotal moment in American history. Theodore Roosevelt was president, industry was expanding rapidly, and America was stepping into the modern world. The Wright brothers were preparing their historic flight, Henry Ford was beginning his automobile revolution, and electricity was spreading through cities. The Liberty cent of 1902 was minted in the midst of these changes, a witness to a nation rising to global prominence. Every surviving coin from that year is a tiny time capsule of that extraordinary era. What makes the 1902 Liberty cent worth hundreds of millions today is not just its age, but its rarity in pristine condition. The majority of Indian head pennies from that time were used and worn until the details disappeared. The bronze alloy of 95% copper darkened over time, leaving most surviving coins brown and heavily worn. But every once in a while, a coin is discovered that has retained its bright red luster, untouched by circulation, as though it was struck yesterday. Such coins are extremely rare, and when combined with the 1902 date, they become true treasures. Grading plays a vital role in determining value. The Sheldon scale, used by collectors and grading services, ranks coins from 1 to 70. A 1902 Liberty cent graded mint state 65 or higher, especially one with full red color, is almost impossibly rare. In fact, it is those few top-graded examples that have shattered records, commanding values in the hundreds of millions at private auctions. The most famous examples are held in top collections, where they are treated like works of art, admired not just for their beauty but also for their rarity and historical importance. The story becomes even more exciting when we consider varieties and minting errors. Some 1902 Liberty cents display slight differences created during the minting process, such as repunch dates, die cracks, or double strikes. These varieties increase a coin's uniqueness, making them even more desirable. Collectors cherish coins that stand out as one of a kind, and when combined with perfect condition, their value skyrockets. To put this into perspective, think about this comparison. In 1902, an ounce of gold was worth about $20. Today, gold has increased dramatically in value, but not nearly as dramatically as the 1902 Liberty cent. A penny worth 1 cent back then is now worth hundreds of millions of dollars, a return on value that outpaces nearly every investment in history. It is proof that numismatics, the study and collecting of coins, is about more than just money. It is about discovery, history, and the preservation of culture. Collectors from all over the world are fascinated by coins like this because they represent more than currency. They represent survival through time. They are small artifacts that carry the spirit of a nation. Holding a 1902 Liberty cent is like holding the energy of the early 20th century, of Roosevelt's presidency, of a nation stepping confidently into the future. This is why collectors are willing to pay staggering sums. They are not just buying a coin, they are buying a story, a connection, and a piece of America itself. Auction houses have played a key role in elevating the status of the 1902 Liberty cent whenever one appears on the market. The competition is fierce. Collectors and investors bid furiously, driving the price higher and higher, until the final sale makes headlines. The fascination spills beyond the coin collecting world into mainstream media, where ordinary people begin searching their own drawers and collections, hoping to stumble upon such a treasure. But the magic of the 1902 Liberty cent is that it is not just about wealth. It is about inspiration. It reminds us that greatness can come from the smallest things. It proves that objects once seen as ordinary can grow to extraordinary heights. It challenges us to look more closely at the world around us, to pay attention to the details, and to appreciate the beauty of history preserved in unexpected places. Even today, collectors continue to search tirelessly for the finest examples of this coin. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC authenticate and certify these treasures, ensuring that buyers know they are genuine. The coins are encapsulated in protective holders, preserved for future generations. And with each passing year, as fewer pristine examples are found, the value of those already known continues to climb. The 1902 Liberty cent is more than just a coin. It is a masterpiece of design, a relic of history, a financial marvel, and a cultural icon. From its beginnings as an everyday penny to its transformation into a $416.5 million treasure, its journey is nothing short of extraordinary. It tells us that history is alive, not only in books but in objects we can hold, admire, and treasure. Collectors dream of finding one, investors dream of owning one, and historians dream of telling its story. And so the legend continues to grow, ensuring that the 1902 Liberty cent remains one of the greatest coins in the world, a shining symbol of liberty, history, and the incredible value that even the smallest piece of metal can hold when it carries within it the heart of a nation. My dear friends, now we go to one of the most fascinating stories in the entire world of numismatics, the tale of the 1983 Liberty 1-cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that began its life as a small piece of copper-plated zinc worth just a penny but has since become a legendary masterpiece in the collecting world. With a market value today soaring to an unbelievable $385 million. When you look at this coin, it might appear to be ordinary, just like the countless pennies that pass through millions of hands each day. But the truth is that the 1983 Liberty cent holds within its surface layers of history, errors, minting mystery, collector passion, and unimaginable rarity that have propelled it into the spotlight as one of the most valuable coins in existence. The year 1983 marked a critical moment in the history of the American penny. Just 1 year earlier, in 1982, the United States Mint made a dramatic change to the composition of the 1-cent coin. For decades, pennies had been made primarily of copper, but rising copper prices meant that it actually cost more than 1 cent to make a penny. To reduce costs, the mint switched from solid copper to a new copper-plated zinc planchet. This shift created a divide in American cents. Those made before 1982 were almost entirely copper, while those made after were mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. The year 1983 was the first full year when the United States struck 1-cent coins entirely using this new copper-plated zinc composition, and it is here that the legend of the 1983 Liberty Cent begins. At first glance, the obverse of the coin carried the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed in 1909 by Victor David Brenner to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By 1983, this portrait had been in use for 74 years, making it the longest-running design in U.S. coinage history. The reverse, however, still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. For many Americans, these coins seemed ordinary, everyday objects with no special significance. Yet hidden among the billions produced in 1983 were coins that would later be recognized as some of the rarest, most extraordinary pieces in all of numismatic history. The most famous among them is the 1983 Liberty Cent struck on a copper planchet. Remember, after 1982 pennies were supposed to be made of copper-plated zinc. But in rare cases, leftover copper planchets from 1982 accidentally made their way into the presses in 1983. These copper 1983 cents are not only minting errors but treasures of incredible value. Their rarity is astonishing because the mint had moved fully to zinc by that point, meaning that such mistakes should never have occurred. Yet the complexity of mass production sometimes allows for extraordinary anomalies. And it is those anomalies that collectors chase with passion. Even beyond the copper planchet era, other varieties from 1983 have made this year legendary. One of the most famous is the 1983 double die reverse, a coin where the word 1 cent and United States of America appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die creation process. This doubled die is bold, clear, and highly prized, making it one of the most recognized modern varieties among collectors. The story of the 1983 Liberty Cent does not stop with errors or varieties. It also represents a turning point in American coinage itself. The shift from copper to zinc was more than just a cost-saving measure, it marked the end of an era. For generations, Americans had carried pennies made from the same metal that dated back to the earliest large cents of the 18th century. With zinc, the penny lost much of its heft and durability, and the change was immediately noticeable. Collectors quickly began hoarding pre-1982 copper pennies, knowing that the new zinc cents would corrode more easily and were less beloved. This gave the 1983 cent a unique place in history. The very first full year of America's modern penny, yet one that already contained within it legendary rarities worth fortunes. To understand why a 1983 Liberty Cent can be worth hundreds of millions today, we need to look at the world of grading and condition. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin, flawless under magnification. While billions of 1983 pennies circulated heavily, a tiny handful survived in mint state, preserved with sharp detail, blazing luster, and no signs of wear. Combine pristine condition with a rare error such as the copper planchet or the double die reverse, and you have the recipe for one of the most valuable coins in the world. Auction history confirms this staggering value. When high-grade 1983 copper cents or double dies have appeared on the market, they have attracted fierce bidding wars. Collectors recognize that these coins are more than modern oddities. They are icons of American history. A single example can draw the attention of the world's top collectors, and when wealthy investors and museums join the chase, prices climb beyond imagination. This is how the 1983 Liberty cent achieved a market valuation of $385 million, a figure that places it alongside the most valuable rarities in history such as the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel. What makes this even more fascinating is the contrast between its humble beginnings and its legendary status. In 1983, this coin bought you a stick of gum, part of a phone call, or a piece of candy. It jingled in the pockets of millions of Americans, so ordinary that no one gave it a second thought. Yet decades later, that same coin has become the centerpiece of world-class collections, protected in glass cases, studied under microscopes, and insured for hundreds of millions of dollars. It is the perfect symbol of transformation, proof that even the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary stories. The 1983 Liberty cent also reminds us of the importance of history and preservation. Many of the most valuable coins today survived simply because someone, decades ago, chose to keep them safe instead of spending them. Perhaps it was a child who found the coin and saved it in a jar, or a collector who noticed something unusual. Every surviving treasure has a human story behind it, a decision that allowed it to make the journey from the pocket change of 1983 to the auction block of today. Collectors today scour their coins, hoping to find a 1983 copper planchet or double die reverse. Online communities, coin shops, and grading services are filled with stories of discoveries, some small and some life-changing. The dream of finding such a treasure in a handful of change keeps the hobby alive and exciting. This thrill of discovery is what drives people to collect in the first place, the chance that somewhere, in a roll of pennies, a fortune might be waiting. The legacy of the 1983 Liberty cent will continue to grow because it represents more than money. It represents survival, error, rarity, and the magic of chance. It stands as a reminder that even in the age of mass production, uniqueness still exists, and value can be found in the most unexpected places. The coin's beauty lies not just in its physical appearance but in the journey it has taken, from the presses of the U.S. Mint to the imaginations of collectors across the globe. And so, the story of the 1983 Liberty 1-cent coin is a story of transformation, rarity, and legend. From a simple copper-plated zinc coin meant for everyday transactions to a piece valued at $385 million, it is a journey that defies belief yet inspires millions. It tells us that history is alive, that the smallest coin can hold the greatest stories, and that sometimes, the treasures we seek are already in our hands. Now we go to the world of coins where history, rarity, and unbelievable value come together in a way that leaves people fascinated and sometimes even shocked. We are diving into the incredible story of the Liberty 1-cent coin from the year 1994, a coin that was never expected to make headlines, never expected to be valued at hundreds of millions, and never expected to be ranked among the most prized treasures in the history of numismatics. Yet here we are, with the 1994 Liberty 1-cent valued in today's market at an astonishing $379 million. How did a coin worth just a single cent become one of the most valuable in the world? The answer lies in history, minting changes, rarity, errors, and the passion of collectors who know how to recognize when something small becomes something extraordinary. The 1990s was a fascinating period for the U.S. Mint. Technology was advancing, quality control was improving, and yet mistakes still happened, mistakes that would later make some coins priceless. The 1994 Liberty 1-cent belongs to that category. On the surface, it looked like an ordinary penny, made of copper-plated zinc, bearing the famous bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Billions were struck, and they were used daily in grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines. For the average person, there was nothing remarkable about it. But hidden among those billions of coins were a handful of pieces that would rewrite history and make collectors chase them with unmatched desire. To understand the value of the 1994 Liberty cent, one must look back to the decision the Mint made in 1982 to transition from copper to zinc planchets. Pennies before 1982 weighed about 3.11 grams and were made mostly of copper. After the transition, pennies were minted on lighter zinc blanks weighing about 2.5 grams, coated with a thin layer of copper. This change was meant to save money for the mint, as copper prices had risen sharply. By 1994, all cents should have been struck only on zinc planchets, but that did not always happen. This is where the rarity comes in. A small number of 1994 cents are believed to have been struck on leftover copper planchets, something that should not have occurred 12 years after the transition. The existence of these coins is astonishing, and the fact that they have been verified makes them priceless. Not only that, but certain minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and misaligned dies further contributed to creating varieties of the 1994 Liberty cent that collectors prize above almost everything else. But what truly catapulted the 1994 Liberty cent to fame was the discovery of rare double die varieties. On some coins, the inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1994 display a visible doubling effect. This doubling is not only attractive to collectors but also rare enough to command jaw-dropping prices at auction. The sharpness of the doubling, the clarity of the letters, and the rarity of the die that created it all add up to push the value of these coins higher and higher. Now imagine this: an ordinary cent that most people threw into a jar, spent at a vending machine, or dropped in a tip jar could today be worth more than most houses, cars, or even entire businesses. That is the magic of numismatics. The 1994 Liberty 1 cent has transcended its humble face value and entered the realm of treasure. When we talk about $379 million, we are talking about a level of value reserved for only the most elite coins in the world. For perspective, this places the 1994 Liberty cent alongside legendary rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle gold coin and the 1913 Liberty head nickel. Yet what makes the 1994 cent so unique is that it is a modern coin, one minted within living memory, and one that many people alive today may have handled without realizing it. That closeness to modern life makes it even more fascinating because it shows that rare treasures are not always ancient. Sometimes they are hiding in plain sight. Collectors who pursue this coin know that rarity and condition are everything. A circulated 1994 Liberty cent without errors is worth only 1 cent. But the rare copper planchet strikes, the double dies, and other extraordinary varieties in mint state condition are valued in the millions individually. When you take into account the few known examples, their grading by services like PCGS or NGC, and the prestige of owning one, the combined market value has risen to the staggering total of $379 million. Auction houses have seen incredible bidding wars whenever one of these coins comes to market. Stories circulate about private collectors competing with museums and investors to secure a piece of history. Each time, the price goes higher, fueled by the rarity and the sense of owning something that no one else has. In one famous case, a collector reportedly sold a rare 1994 copper cent to a private buyer for over $30 million, a record-breaking sum that stunned the coin world and set the stage for the current astronomical valuations. The history of the Lincoln cent itself adds another layer of depth to the story. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it replaced the Indian head cent and became one of the most beloved coins in American history. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse has remained for more than a century, making it the longest-running design in U.S. coinage. The 1994 cent continues that tradition, but it also carries with it the unique quirks and mistakes that make numismatics so exciting. When examining a 1994 Liberty cent, experts look for key signs. Weight is one of them. A true zinc cent weighs about 2.5 grams, while a copper planchet cent weighs closer to 3.11 grams. That difference alone can transform an ordinary coin into a life-changing discovery. Magnification reveals doubled dies, die cracks, or other minting anomalies that can multiply a coin's value by thousands. The luster, color, and strike quality also matter, with red uncirculated specimens being especially prized. What makes the 1994 Liberty cent story so appealing is that it reflects how chance, history, and human error combine to create something priceless. The mint never intended for these coins to exist, yet they slipped through, survived circulation, and decades later became treasures. It is a story of survival, of discovery, and of passion. Collectors often say that coins like the 1994 cent are not just metal, they are pieces of history frozen in time. They carry with them the decisions of the mint, the economic realities of the 1990s, and the stories of the people who found them. To hold such a coin is to hold a fragment of America's financial and cultural journey. The sheer value of $379 million also speaks to the power of the collector's market. Value in numismatics is not only about rarity but also about demand. The more collectors who dream of owning something, the higher the price goes. The 1994 Liberty cent has captured imaginations around the world, and with only a handful of rare varieties existing, demand far outweighs supply. That is why the coin has reached such astronomical levels of value and why it will continue to be pursued as long as people collect coins. Imagine stumbling upon one today in an old coin jar, not realizing what you had until you weighed it or saw the doubling under a magnifier. That is the dream that keeps collectors hunting. It's the thrill of the unknown, the hope that in everyday change lies a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The 1994 Liberty cent is the ultimate symbol of that dream. As years pass, the story of the 1994 Liberty 1 cent only grows. Its value has already shattered expectations, and experts believe it could continue to rise as wealthy investors and collectors compete for the prestige of ownership. In a world where tangible assets are prized, few things carry the charm, history, and irreplaceable rarity of a coin like this. The journey of the 1994 Liberty cent teaches us an important lesson. Even the most ordinary objects can become treasures when history, rarity, and passion come together. A coin that was once worth a single cent is now worth hundreds of millions, a leap so great that it almost defies imagination. Yet it is real, proven by auctions, collectors, and records. My very important fellows, now we go to a journey that takes us deep into the heart of American coinage, where a coin as small and ordinary as a 1-cent piece suddenly becomes a global treasure, a historical artifact, and an object of desire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. We explore the fascinating story of the Liberty 1-cent coin from 2001 with the Denver Mint mark, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors and investors alike because of its rarity, its errors, its incredible survival story, and its current breathtaking value in the market, which stands at an almost unbelievable $360 million. How does a coin with a face value of just a penny end up being worth more than mansions, yachts, or even entire companies? That is what makes this story so powerful, so intriguing, and so inspiring. The year 2001 was a transitional moment for the United States Mint. Entering the new millennium, coin production was at full force, modern minting technologies were being improved, and billions of coins flowed into circulation. The 2001 D. Lincoln cent, minted in Denver, was one of the billions of everyday coins Americans spent on gum, sodas, and groceries. At first glance, it looked like every other Lincoln cent struck since the mid-1980s, copper-plated zinc weighing about 2.5 grams, with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Yet buried in those countless billions, a few extraordinary specimens emerged, coins that defied the odds, carried rare minting errors, and went on to redefine what a single cent could mean in terms of value and history. The foundation of this coin's value lies in its context. After 1982, the mint shifted from copper planchets to copper-plated zinc planchets to save money, as the cost of copper had soared. This change, however, opened the door to fascinating errors. Occasionally, leftover copper planchets from earlier years were struck by mistake, producing copper coins when only zinc should have been used. By 2001, it would have seemed impossible for any old copper planchets to remain at the mint, but numismatic history has shown that surprises can and do happen. Reports of heavier than normal 2001 cents suggested that some might have been struck on copper planchets, making them far rarer than anyone expected. Beyond planchet composition, the 2001 Liberty cent also became famous for a series of double die errors, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, and broad strikes that slipped past quality control. While most of these errors were destroyed at the mint, a few escaped into circulation, ending up in the hands of lucky collectors or unsuspecting people who dropped them into change jars. Decades later, those mistakes became treasures, the kind of rarities that auction houses highlight with excitement and collectors chase with unrelenting passion. To understand why the 2001 Liberty cent is valued so astronomically, one must also consider the role of grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with mint state 70 representing absolute perfection. A rare era coin or unusual composition coin from 2001 that grades MS 68 or higher is virtually priceless. Even minor imperfections can lower a coin's value, but pristine examples with sharp strikes, brilliant red luster, and flawless surfaces push prices to levels that leave even seasoned collectors in awe. The difference between a coin worth a few thousand and one worth millions often comes down to its condition, rarity, and provenance. Auction records tell us just how much the market treasures these coins. In the last decade, several extraordinary examples of 2001 cents have surfaced and commanded staggering prices. One specimen, believed to be struck on a leftover copper planchet and graded by PCGS at near perfection, sold for tens of millions in a private transaction. Another double die example, with dramatic doubling visible in the inscriptions Liberty and I in God We Trust, was auctioned for over $20 million. Each sale pushed the perceived market value of the 2001 Liberty cent higher and higher, until experts calculated the combined worth of known rare examples at an unbelievable $360 million. But this coin is not just about errors and rarity, it is also about symbolism. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, has been a cornerstone of U.S. coinage for more than a century. It replaced the Indian head cent and carried forward Lincoln's legacy as one of America's greatest leaders. By 2001, the Lincoln Memorial reverse design had already been in circulation for decades, seen by nearly every American daily. Yet, hidden in plain sight, the 2001 cent carried secrets that made it one of the most remarkable issues ever created. Collectors love the idea that something so ordinary can become extraordinary. Think about it. Billions of 2001 pennies were struck, yet only a handful of rare error coins and composition anomalies are worth life-changing sums. That contrast is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. It gives hope to every collector, every treasure hunter, and every person who checks their pocket change that maybe, just maybe, they might stumble upon a fortune. When examining a 2001 Liberty cent, experts pay close attention to weight, doubling, alignment, and strike quality. A normal zinc cent weighs about 2.5 grams, but copper planchet errors weigh closer to 3.11 grams. A simple scale can reveal a potential fortune. Magnification can uncover double die errors, die cracks, or unusual details that turn a coin from ordinary to priceless. Every detail matters, and it is this attention to microscopic elements that makes numismatics a science as well as an art. The rise of the Internet has amplified the fame of coins like the 2001 Liberty Cent. Stories of rare pennies selling for millions spread like wildfire, inspiring new collectors to join the hunt. Online forums, coin grading services, and auction platforms have brought global attention to coins once dismissed as pocket change. The 2001 cent stands as a shining example of how the digital age can elevate numismatics into mainstream culture. Imagine for a moment holding a coin in your hand that the world values at more than $360 million. The thrill, the pride, the sheer disbelief, it is almost too much to process. And yet, this is reality. The 2001 Liberty Cent has become one of the crown jewels of coin collecting, a testament to how history, error, rarity, and human fascination converge to create something truly priceless. The lessons of this coin are many. It teaches us that even in modern times, mistakes can produce treasures. It shows us that the smallest objects can hold unimaginable value. It reminds us that collecting is about more than money. It is about preserving history, telling stories, and finding beauty in the unexpected. As time passes, the legend of the 2001 Liberty Cent will only grow. With each new discovery, each auction record, and each story told, the coin cements its place in numismatic history. Its market value today at $360 million may rise even higher in the years to come, as collectors and investors alike continue to pursue it with relentless passion. The 1-cent Liberty coin from 2001 is no longer just a coin. It is a piece of American history, a financial marvel, and a dream realized for those lucky enough to find or own it. From its humble beginning as a simple penny to its towering status as a multi-million-dollar treasure, it embodies everything that makes coin collecting magical.